How we doing? I'm here solo today. Alex had a dinner he said he had to go to and could not make it, so I just figured I'd knock it out myself. If you're just stumbling upon this, you could follow me on Instagram at DriverMMA. This will be short since I'm by myself. They're generally, when I do them by myself, they're generally pretty short. I do say a lot of ums. I don't have any back and forth banter, so I say a lot of ums and I stumble around my words, but we'll see what we can do. We'll figure it out. I'll be recapping last night's UFC card, Islam Makhachev versus Bobby Green, and then I'll be doing some predictions for next week's UFC. Was it 272? I think Covington versus Masvidal, the grudge match. I think that's 272. Let me see. Yeah, 272. But I'll make it quick. I talk about some MMA news if we had any, or some grappling news. I don't think we have any. Well, actually, we do. We have a pretty good Who's Number One card coming up, so I'll go over that as well. See, there's my first or second. Hard to not say when there's no one to talk back. Let's see. Let's just get into it. So last night, we originally had Islam Makhachev to fight Beneil Dariush. Dariush gets some kind of foot injury. I guess stepped in between the mat, twisted his foot, ankle, some sort of leg injury due to that. So Bobby Green, who just fought a couple weeks ago, steps in, super short notice, takes the fight. We like Bobby Green for that. Everyone was super happy. I know I was. To have Islam not fight would have sucked because he's a huge prospect. He's like Khabib 2.0. Maybe 2.0 isn't the right word because maybe he's not as good as Khabib. Most people probably think he's not, but he's Khabib-esque, teammates, friends, same team, same everything, corner each other, the whole thing. He's like, Khabib's gone, so now we got Islam. So Bobby Green steps in, 10 days notice. He says, give me 5 pounds. They fight at a 160-pound catch weight. Bobby Green actually weighed in at 158, and Islam weighed in at 160. But there was a lot of talk from a lot of people about how this is going to be a surprise fight. Bobby Green stylistically is hard, and I haven't seen this much from Islam, and that kind of thing. I thought it would be completely one-sided. Most people did. Let's just clear that up. It's not like I had some crazy out of left field prediction like, no, it's going to be one-sided, and the general consensus was the other way. Most people thought it would be super one-sided. He was a giant favorite, reasonably so. But there were people that were saying, Bobby. Islam Makhachev fought Dan Hooker his last fight. If you don't think Dan Hooker is better than Bobby Green, I guess you can have your opinion, but I think that's crazy. I think, I thought that was his biggest test was Dan Hooker. Round 1 submission, beautiful Kimura. I mean, come on. So I thought that was crazy. I thought it was crazy. I don't think Bobby Green's better than Dan Hooker. I don't know why. There were people, and maybe they just stood out because they were so unusual. The talks of this Bobby Green thing, because it was such a crazy prediction. Like Bobby Green might have the upset. Maybe those just stood out more, and there wasn't really a whole lot of them. But I thought it was crazy. I was like, it's going to be super one-sided. Islam's going to go in there, take him down. I gave him more credit, though. I gave Bobby Green more credit. Because when I predicted, we predicted this, Alex and I predicted it. Alex said round 2 submission. I said round 4. I thought it'd be a lot of ground and pound, a lot of Bobby Green surviving rounds. But no, it was round 1. It was 3 minutes and 23 seconds into the first round. I think he got the first takedown. Well, the only takedown. I think he got it in 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. But, kind of a double leg. Back up against the fence, half guard to mount, to ground and pound, to, he looked for the neck a couple of times, and he just was like, screw this. And it was over. Super fast finish, round 1. TKO for Islam Makhachev. I think he's probably getting the next title. Well, not the next title shot. His next fight will be the title fight after Gaethje and Oliveira fight. Now, where does Beneil Dariush lie? I think he just has to wait. I mean, I don't know how long he's going to be out for with his injury, but he'll have to wait. And well, Islam said he thinks Islam said I'm going to get the belt and then I'll wait for, I'll get Dariush then. So I would like to see Dariush get a win. I think it was fair for the Dariush Makhachev fight to be for the number one contender spot. And for Islam made it to the dance, won the fight. Beneil was hurt, sitting on the sideline. So I do think Beneil still needs one more win before he gets it. Maybe he could get the loser of Gaethje and Oliveira. Let's say Gaethje loses Gaethje versus Beneil for the number one contender spot after Oliveira and Makhachev fight for the belt, or vice versa, right? Gaethje wins. Oliveira is dethroned. Oliveira fights Beneil Dariush for the number one contender spot. You lose your title shot, you get one more shot against Beneil Dariush, and then there you go. Winner of that gets the next title shot. So that goes without saying. Islam gets the next title shot. After Gaethje and Oliveira fight, Islam gets the winner. I think that's probably not just everyone's feelings. I think everyone probably, whether you agree with it or not, which, I mean, come on, he's on a 10-fight win streak. His last 2 wins were, well, I guess the Bobby Green fight happened to be Bobby Green, but Dan Hooker, Bobby Green, this fight was more of a chance rather than a step down for Islam. It was more of a chance for Bobby Green to step in and do something. But because if Bobby Green would have won, he had an argument for, I took on your number one contender. I stepped in your number one contenders match. I won. I know I skipped some people, but I was the only one to raise my hand when we needed to fill in. So, yeah, I think so. Islam he'll get the next title shot after, Gaethje and Oliveira are scheduled to fight. Islam's going to fight the winner of that. And I guess for Beneil Dariush, who was, should have been in the fight last night, I guess he gets, why not get the winner? Or sorry, why not get the loser of Gaethje Oliveira? And that's your next number one contender spot. So now Islam's waiting in the wings. He's your next guy. But yeah, Bobby Green. I mean, I didn't even think it'd be round 1, but I definitely wasn't surprised. I thought he'd be a sub. I thought it'd be ground and pound. I mean, he could have easily in the first round, not easily, but Bobby Green could have desperately covered up and tried to get up, turn his back even more so, and get choked just as easily as he could have got punched out like he did. That's kind of what I thought. I thought it would be a series of events like the ground and pound last night, and then Islam finds a choke or something. That's what I thought would happen, but finishing with punches. No surprise, but I don't think, in my eyes, it's not a knock on Bobby Green at all. He's taken on, I think, the best guy in the division, probably. I know Gaethje and Oliveira a lot of people would probably say it's one of those guys. But I think Islam's probably the best. And I've thought that for the last, couple fights. I've thought that. He obviously had the huge hype. He obviously has the Khabib similarities. So it's easy to say that too early. But for the last few fights, I'm like, man, this guy might be the best. It wasn't Beneil Dariush, which would have been a much tougher test, but I still think Islam's probably the best. So, yeah, title fight for him next after Gaethje and Oliveira fight. That's what I assume would happen. That's what I think also should happen. But whether you think it should happen or not, it's probably what's going to happen, and I think you'd probably agree. Let's see. Let's move on. Misha Serkinov fought Wellington Turman last night. Misha Serkinov was he was a monster middleweight, and he survived. Yeah, he was survived. He was, let's see. Turman was a backpack on Serkinov. Let's just say Misha. It'll be so much easier. So Turman was a backpack on Misha in the first round, fighting for that rear naked choke for a huge part of the round. And then Serkinov finished the round, kind of just landing some ground and pound on Turman, playing like a open guard kind of thing. He was holding his legs, landing some ground and pound. Round two, Serkinov ends up on top again with a it was a foot sweep, I think. I think it was a nice foot sweep or trip, whatever you want to call it. It looked like a foot sweep to me, if I remember correctly. So falls right into Turman's close guard. And I mean, jiu-jitsu, freaking 101 classic jiu-jitsu. Turman throws up, a closed guard armbar, and it was beautiful, and it was deep and tight right away. So early round, I think it was early round two, wasn't it? Yeah, minute and 29 seconds, round two. Armbar finish for Turman, so that was nice. Let's see. Let's skip a few. There's a decision win for the women, Kim versus Kachirana. I'm sure I butchered that name. Who else? Oh, the Joe Alvarez fight. Man, his last few fights, he was insane. I think they were all submissions. Maybe they weren't, but a good submission guy. I remember he had a few good guillotines. I think maybe Anaconda, something like that. He came in as an underdog, and I was a little surprised. But however you say this gentleman's name, I forgot. Armin, whatever. However you say it, Tuscaron. Just say Armin. Vicious, man, super vicious. He landed that crazy elbow from when he was inside the Alvarez's guard, and it was one of the worst cuts I've seen in the sport. It was bad. It was leaking everywhere, which was awesome to see. But he split him open real bad, or real good, however you want to word it. That was a super fun fight to watch. He ended up getting the finish. I mean, he couldn't see. Felder kept mentioning that, like, he's defending blindly. I mean, it was just leaking everywhere. But that was super awesome, fun to watch. And then let me see. That's fine. 2 Armins in a row. Split decision win for the first fight, the main card. Rodriguez versus Petroson. Look, I have to pay attention to some of those fights, but I was really excited. The last 2 fights were great, even though the women's fight was pretty good too. But the card wasn't that great. As far as name value, the card wasn't that great, which is fine. Killer main event would have been better if it was Beneil Dariush, but that was it. So that was the recap. That's my shitty recap of the card. I really just wanted to talk about Makhachev versus Green. The other fights I didn't really care that much about. And like I said, name value was pretty low, which is fine. I'm not hating on it, but it's just not that exciting to talk about or to say what's next for these guys when, there's no ranked fighters in there. So I'm going to have a sip of my non-alcoholic IPA. All right. So let's talk about next week. UFC 272, Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal, the grudge match. Former friends, former roommates, former teammates at American Top Team, Coconut Creek, Florida. So let's see. How do we fast recap this? I mean, you have to be living under a rock, especially if you're listening to this. There's no way you don't know the backstory, but let's pretend you don't. I'll give you the super fast version. So they used to be teammates, roommates. Jorge was already in the UFC. Colby Covington was coming off of college wrestling. Colby joins ATT. They become buddies. They become roommates. I believe Colby stayed with Jorge in their house or apartment or whatever. They were good buddies. From my understanding, the UFC was trying to cut Colby Covington because of his fight style, even though I don't think he lost in the UFC. Maybe he had one loss. He had one loss for sure. I don't remember if it was in the UFC, if it was before the UFC. Kind of irrelevant. He was winning a bunch of fights, but, he just wrestle fucked people. He raw dogged them, and not the most exciting fights, right? So they're going to cut him. And then he decides to do this character thing where he calls everyone in Brazil a bunch of filthy animals. This is my understanding of it. And then, when he fought Rafael dos Anjos, I think that's for the interim belt. I think is when he did it. Or no, it was when he fought Damian Maia. That's when he did it. Then he fought RDA for the interim title. I think it was when he fought Damian Maia is when he did the whole character thing, called Brazilians a bunch of filthy animals, whatever. Anyways, he starts being this bad guy pro wrestler kind of thing, which I think is funny because I think it's fake. It's like wrestling, but they actually fight. So it's like it'd be like really, I really hate Stone Cold Steve Austin because of the things he says. You know, like to me, kind of silly. I think everything Kobe does is probably fake. Maybe it's not. Maybe some. Maybe it's just like him, amplified. Maybe he says kind of what he feels, but everyone has these. I have some shitty thoughts that I shouldn't say out loud, or maybe I'll gloss over them. But and maybe he just amplifies them and just really says how it feels. Like like his whole like MAGA thing, like his Trump thing. Maybe he was just like, yeah, I support Donald Trump. I think he's a fine man. But then he blows it up to this whole character thing where that's all he talks about, and he wears the hat and does the whole thing. So I don't know if it's all fake or if it's just kind of blown up. But I don't let it bother me because I think it's fake. So I don't let when he says mean things or when he insults people, I'm like, he's doing the shtick, he's doing the character thing. It's kind of funny to have something like that. It's like a Chael Sonnen-esque, not nearly as good as Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen is the best trash talker ever, I think. And I think that's pretty controversial too, because some people, I know, like my buddy Justin in Washington was like, I hate that Chael Sonnen shit because it's so fake. I think it's just funny. So not that Colby's is extraordinarily funny or anything, but I just think he's just doing the stick thing. So it doesn't bother me when he says mean things or whatever. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm a fan of the guy. I'm also a huge fan of Jorge Masvidal. How can you not be, really? If you're a fan of the sport, he's an OG. So that's my short, not very good, probably backstory behind the two. So, anyways, they used to be friends. Now they hate each other. Whatever. Anyway, so the drivers' predictions for Masvidal versus Covington. We've seen them spar. We haven't seen them spar. Well, I think we have seen them spar, but we've definitely. There's footage of them wrestling, which is just wrestling. Obviously, it's huge, important part of it. Colby's obviously a wrestler. That's what he likes to do. Masvidal is just pretty well rounded, but mostly a striker. That's what he wants to do. And Colby is not as good of a striker. I don't think Colby's that bad. He has very little, if any, power. He doesn't put any pepper on his shots, though. I think a lot of it is intentional. He just wants to pepper you up, get in your face, overwhelm you, and that's one thought. And then the other thought, it's probably a little bit of both, is get you thinking about these. There's 100 of them coming at you while he's setting up the takedown. So there's that. But when a striker versus grappler, you almost always favor the grappler. Almost always, I said. Not always. But there's just a lot that has to happen. And then, the grappler just has to get a hold. Not every grappler, but if Colby Covington, I think, gets a hold of you, you're going down. Unless your name's Kamaru Usman, you're going down. So can Masvidal pick shots at him for 5 rounds and stay away from, wrestling range and not get taken down? I doubt it. Possible, of course. But you've seen the footage. Again, they're not striking, but Colby takes him down at will. This was a long time ago. I'm sure Masvidal's wrestling defense has gotten better. I'm sure his bottom game, submissions plus getting back to your feet, I'm sure that's all gotten better. But it'd be crazy to say Colby Covington hasn't gotten better too. Masvidal has power. Masvidal knocks people out. Colby doesn't. It's an oversimplification to say Masvidal has the striking advantage. Colby Covington has the grappling advantage. But it's true. That's the way it is. Dancing around it too much. How do I think it's going to play out? No bias here. Bias is bias word. No bias here at all. Fan of both guys. Really excited for it. I love the bad blood. I think it makes it way more exciting. I think Colby Covington kind of ragdolls him. And then, unfortunately, I think it'll probably be in a boring decision, if you will. I mean, boring is a strong word for fight fans, but It's probably going to be Covington taking him down, hitting him a little bit. Masvidal might get up a few times, and then he's going to get taken out again. Will Covington eat some shots? I think so. I think there's going to be a few I think there's going to be a few of those, especially when he's getting ready to set up the takedowns. When he's getting ready to come in, he might catch a few while he's coming in. Maybe catches one while he's shooting a shot, and then that stops him in his tracks. And then everyone's like, "Ooh, okay." And then we're at it again. That's probably going to happen. Will Jorge Masvidal stop some shots? Probably. Colby's a good chain wrestler, I think. He'll stop one, and then he comes back with a second one, and a third one, and he's going to get one of them. I think Masvidal stopping the takedown entirely is going to be really hard. And I think if he gets back up, he's probably going to get right back down. On the ground, I don't think Colby doesn't do a whole lot of ground and pound. He usually is just controlling and trying to advance position. And then when you get back up, he takes you down again. He took Robbie Lawler down. I don't remember how many times, but it was a lot. And Lawler would get back up, and Colby take him right back down. On top of that, the countless strikes he landed. It was like most strikes thrown in a welterweight fight or something like that. So, yeah, I think Colby wins. Probably a decision. He doesn't get tired. He has decent striking. I don't think he can strike with Masvidal, but I think he can do enough to hang in there long enough to take him down. And yeah, Masvidal might be able to throw up a submission or something. I doubt it. I doubt he'd be able to get one, but he'll land some shots. I don't think they're going to take him out though. I think it's going to be Colby's wrestling that wins him the fight. That's what I think. I don't think Colby will submit him. I don't think he'll ground and pound him to a stoppage, although he could. I think Colby Covington by decision, and I think the wrestling is going to do it. That's my thoughts. But what else we got on UFC 272 before I wrap this up? Oh, Rafael Fiziev versus RDA, lightweight. Rafael Fiziev is the favorite. It's no surprise. He's kind of been a splash since he's been in. And RDA is getting older, and he sometimes shows up for fights, sometimes he doesn't. Big fan of the guy for sure. I'll have a sip of my non-alcoholic beer. I'm getting loud over here. I would not be surprised if RDA won that fight, but Fiziev is a pretty big favorite, minus 280 favorite. He probably wins. I think he probably wins. And then just to be more boring, I think I'm going all favorites for this. I don't think I have any crazy underdog predictions, unfortunately. You got the Sergey Spivak guy fighting Greg Hardy. Spivak's a favorite. He'll probably beat Greg Hardy, but Greg Hardy is a freak athlete with big power. So, I mean, it's not going to be super surprised if Greg Hardy won. Kevin Holland versus Alex Cowboy Oliveira. That's a fun fight. Big fan of both these guys. I think Kevin Holland, I don't remember Kevin Holland's last fight, but we know Bronson kind of beat him, and then the rest of them took him out, all that kind of stuff. So I don't remember Kevin Holland's coming off a win or loss, but I think Kevin Holland brings it and gets it done. And he's a favorite too, minus 260. I think he beats Oliveira. Slight favorite, Bryce Mitchell from Arkansas, taking on legend of the sport, Edson Barboza. I think Bryce Mitchell gets it done with his wrestling, with his grappling. Not that Edson Barboza can't do it, and obviously Edson Barboza is one hell of a striker, maybe the best kicker in the game, one of the best kickers. You got other guys, you got like Yair Rodriguez, and there's a bunch of good kickers, but Edson Barboza is definitely a name that comes to mind when you're thinking of great kickers in sport. I think Bryce Mitchell, and he can grapple too, but I think Bryce Mitchell gets it done. Hey, we haven't seen Bryce Mitchell in a while. But, I mean, he's got phenomenal wrestling. He's got great takedowns. And while he's down there, I mean, he's got good jiu-jitsu / whatever you want to call it, wrestling. He advances positions well. I don't think people don't usually get back up. So I think Bryce Mitchell probably win. Probably a decision. Maybe he'll submit him, but I doubt it. Probably a decision. Just take him down, hold him down. Land some shots, maybe. There's another favorite I'm picking. And then we're back to RDA versus the co-main event. RDA versus Fiziev. I wouldn't be surprised to see RDA win, but I think Fiziev probably gets it done. And then like I just spent all that time talking. Main event, no title, headlining pay-per-view. These guys are going to sell big tickets. It's going to be really fun. Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal. I just gave you the whole layout, but I think Colby Covington gets it done by a decision. Just the wrestling's going to win it. That's what I got. I think that's all I got. Unless there's any crazy big. Oh, I did say I was going to talk about who's number one, didn't I? Okay. Bear with me. Where would that be? I think Flow Grappling posted it. There's some crazy matches on there, though, for the jiu-jitsu people. Oh, yeah. So we got the rematch of Gio Martinez versus Mikey Musumeci. As we remember the first one, there was some weird bad blood thing with Mikey being kind of weird. Gio wouldn't shake his hands, and that like really got under Mikey's skin for whatever reason. But so they're rematching. That's fun. Mikey, kind of won pretty obvious or pretty, clearly the first time. No subs, but he had Martinez in a lot of trouble. But Gio just fought through it. He's tough. He's flexible. He's bendy. He's a vet. But all these are no-gi. I think all his number one matches are no-gi. These are all no-gi matches. Mikey probably wins that one again. Then you got Dante Leon versus Mika Gaval. Yeah, Mika Gaval. That's crazy. Gaval just won ADCC trials and whatever they call it. I don't remember if it was called Brazil or if it was called South American trials, but Gaval just won that. I think he's 18 years old. It's crazy. And then the one I'm most excited for probably is Jacob Couch versus Nicky Ryan. Nicky Ryan's been out for a while, I believe, due to injury. I think a knee. I haven't seen Nicky Ryan in a while. Obviously, Gordon Ryan's brother does not track Gordon anymore. He went with the B team, Craig Jones, Nicky Rod, those guys. So, but it'd be fun to see him versus Jacob Couch. Big Jacob Couch fan, the Hillbilly Hammer. Big fan of his. So I don't know who's going to win that. I think it's going to be tough. It'd be nice. We haven't seen Nicky Ryan in a while. Jacob Couch has been on fire. So we'll see what happens, but I'm really excited for it. Then we got, I think Tammy is Mikey's sister's name, Tammy Musumeci versus Jessica Crane. That'd be a fun one. Hard to predict that one. Tammy has been, I think she competed at the last Who's Number One thing. Jessica Crane has been competing a lot, but we'll see. And then, yeah, that's the only thing. That's the only ones I see so far. I'm sure there's more, but super fun. Gio versus Mikey Musumeci. Dante Leon versus Mika Gaval, Jacob Couch versus Nicky Ryan, and then I forgot what I said her name was. What did I say her name was? I already forgot. Mikey's sister, Musumeci versus Jessica Crane. Tammy is what it was, I think. Tammy. This is all off the top of my head. I'm just looking at pictures. I don't have names. So that's the Who's Number One. That's March 25th. Looking forward to that. If you're a jiu-jitsu fan, if you're a no-gi fan like me, so that's fun. And then I'm by myself. Hopefully I stayed on point. Hopefully I didn't say 7,000 which I'm known to do when I'm by myself. That was a semi one there. When you say something and normally someone's responding, and just falls out, and then you don't even notice it unless you hear it later. So sorry if I did. And also, oh well. Hopefully that was decent. And hopefully we get some good fights next week at UFC 272, Covington versus Masvidal. So I think that's everything, and we'll see you next week. Peace.